So welcome back to the show, and now I have the privilege to have Margaret Lynch with me. Good morning, Margaret.
Good morning. How are you?
I am great, I'm great. Thank you very much for being back on this show, and because we had one a few weeks ago, and it was just great, and it's just amazing what happened since I'm using this program that you are launching, so that you launched a few weeks ago, so thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Do you want to share a little bit about what's happening? What are the good things before we get to the challenges?
The good things is I found that it's easier for me to talk about money. It's easier for me to create programs that have some revenue attached to. And also on the more personal side, there are some relationships that were broken before that are starting to be mended now. So there's a lot of things like this that don't seem to be really completely related, but I know that they're related. And that's just
Right.
great.
Right. Yeah, your chakras are your life. So as you start working with your chakras, even if you're focused on money, other things in your life are going to change. As you can tell in the 7 Levels program, it is about wealth, but it's also about your whole life, right? So that's great. That's great to hear. That's great to hear.
Yeah,
And
and I think that one is the relationship with my dad, who's starting to be repaired, and that's so important because I believe that as you teach and as Reese teach, um, the first chakra is our family also. And that
yeah.
was something very very important for me.
Yeah, and I'll give you I'll add on to that what I have found from working with many people is that your money and success particularly is tied to your father. Okay, so particularly the energy of money and success, which is typically the more masculine energy, right? And in the way we're, hey, I didn't make this up, right? It's the way we were sort of raised in society, but it's the masculine side of your energy, and it's going to be most directly related to your dad and your relationship and what he succeeded, how he dealt with money, or how he didn't or didn't succeed. So I've often said to people, you could tap about your father every single day, and you would always see improvements in your money and your success in life. Unless someone had no father at all and just was raised by a single mom, it can be a little bit different. But even if they didn't have a father figure in their life, if there's still a tremendous amount of energy around that loss, that lack of having a father there, that will often manifest as debt. It's so interesting. I've met a lot of male clients who did not have a father, or the father that they had, didn't spend time with them, wasn't there for them. And that loss, that lack, they carry debt in their life. It's a connection that is just so interesting. But the upside is that it points us in the direction of doing some amazing work. Yeah. So the loyalty to at the first chakra, and the battle against, and the I want to surpass, no, I don't. That's so tightly connected to the dad, which is really interesting. Even if you're a woman, man or woman, it's that masculine energy.
Yeah, it's really interesting because that's a relationship I never made before. It was
Yeah.
something that was not that obvious. I knew that when my relationship with my dad broke up, that then the finances or my income stream just dried up, and
Right.
I did not really understand the link between the two. But yeah, it is now, it is real, and it's great that you just said this. But because before I was able to attract a lot of money. But now it's since we had this breakup, it just dried up completely.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really interesting. So the more you can work there personally, the better, right? The better. And it particularly if you can find, the gold emotions, the solid gold stuff, which is anger and, anger at your father, anger at God, anger at the universe, anger at the society, anything that you can find that you're still blaming because of the situation. Um, if you can find that emotion, so anger or sadness, right? Loss, grief, I never got to have, those are the gold. Those are the gold emotions.
Yeah. So which means that you are tapping onto them. Then as soon as you have this emotion, you're tapping this every day, or how do you do this? Because
Yeah.
I did the program of the 7 level of wealth mastery. I think I did it 3 times. But after a while, it's difficult to connect some emotion because so much of them are cleared, you know. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. It's fabulous. You know, you start, if it doesn't trigger you anymore, it's like, wow, I've moved past that, right? And so you want to kind of think about, so here's a good example. Okay. So everyone can do this right now if they want, right? And so think about your money and your success, right? That the money and success that you want versus what you have right now. Okay. And now think about your father and the money and success that he was able to achieve, how hard he had to work for it. Okay. In any price that you paid because of his ability or inability to be both a father, like emotionally, okay, a role model to you, and financially support you. Okay, so we have a lot of different things. Some of those will hit for some people, some of them won't, right? They'll have one thing, but maybe, or maybe they'll have 3 or 4 things, right? Hey, my father financially supported me, but he was never a good role model for me. He didn't teach me how to be a hero, didn't teach me how to have integrity, blah, blah, blah. Okay, or didn't spend any time with me. Or, you know, no, my father refused to send us money. Or my father tried and tried and tried and never got ahead, right? In my case, my dad was a fabulous engineer and extremely successful in corporations, tried to leave and start his own company and had a painful, painful failure. Okay, tried one more time with a different company, had a painful, painful failure, hard on the family. We had to watch a very proud person go through that. I still remember it. I was young, right? And had to go back to corporate America. So the pattern can repeat, you know, so now you would have children who will do really well in corporate America, but try to start a business and have a terrible, terrible failure. Okay, disappointment, right? So there's the pattern, right? And so that one really works for me. That's what I have sort of going against me when I start my own business, right? So come up with your story about that, whichever one of those hits. And now you make this into tapping. I'll show you how.
Okay. Well, I would guess it's more about that my dad was a blue-collar worker, so he was working very hard. And he never really had money. We never had money, in fact. And could not really sustain us, and emotionally was not present neither. So he was just here as a dad. He was a provider, and that stopped here. We never really had, because I have 3 brothers also, any sign of love from him, any cuddle, any hug, or these kind of things. So he was pretty distant in this way, and very, very angry to the world. Yeah, very angry, very envious, and he was just saying that rich people are very lucky and they have it all. It's easy for them, and but he was very proud that he was working hard, and but
right.
Even not bringing enough income all the time, you know.
Yeah, so to be loyal to that pattern, right, you would have to work really hard and not bring in enough, right? And come up against, I really believed it would happen, and see, the world is screwing me too, right? Now, as a child, the programming, it almost doesn't make sense as an adult, right? Like, why would I have that? But as a child, the programming is so intense to be in that tribe, to have that camaraderie, to say, you're right, Dad. Yep, I agree with you. You're totally right. The world is awful. You can't get ahead. People like us get screwed. Any of that feeling, because if you were to go against that as a child, right, you wouldn't be in the tribe. Right. So there's this a strong desire to both be loyal to that, and then there'll also be a rebellion, like, I really, really want to believe that it can be different for me.
Yeah, and there's also something else. Also, I think that it's a kind of a pride of what he did, and that we. I'm sorry, I'm going to say this, but that we were good people.
Yeah.
And because we were poor. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a really common one. Well, at least we were good people. At least we were happy. And so, the thing is that we look at it as black and white, one or the other, right? So you want to be able to work with the both. What if you can have both? That didn't exist in the family, right? You couldn't be both. Rich people were bad, right? So there's this real black and white quality of it, and to hold on to that family pride, you have to make sure you never ever become like those rich people, right? So energetically, there's a big push, right? So you had both the money and the struggle side, working hard for not enough money, and also you had the emotional side, right? So you want to do some tapping on your own on the emotional loss. What did you lose because he wasn't loving and affectionate? And that's a separate tapping that you can do, right? And I've had big guys, huge guys, 6'5", huge guys that I've done sessions with like this about their father, and buckets of tears, buckets, and have said to me, I have never cried like this, Margaret. What are you doing to me? I didn't see this coming. I didn't know I had this grief in me because I didn't really have the father that I wanted. And so that's a tremendous amount of energy to release and move. Okay. So what we can do right now, if you want to jump in, we can do some tapping on the other side of it, on the how hard he worked for his money side of it.
Yeah. But I just want to say something before we start, because I did not realize this, and I wasn't even consciously aware of this until I started this program. And I've been working on myself for a long time, and I did counseling before also and everything, especially in relationship with my dad, but I never really understood this relationship with money, and also be able to verbalize what happened into our childhood. And that's, I think, also one of the big gifts of doing this program.
Yeah, it's, I always say the first gift is consciousness, right? The tapping is a great clearing technique, but the consciousness is what will create transformation longer and further into your life than just the tapping that we do. Consciousness is really the gift, right? It's like, oh, because you have a moment of consciousness that can create healing and transformation for 10 more years. Right? That's the power, because as they say with the chakras, one drop, right? One little drop of consciousness that comes in at the 7th chakra, like goes through the entire system. People have changed the course of their life for years with one drop of that consciousness and insight, right? So it is. It's a very, very powerful what you just said. Just the realizing of it, the observing of it suddenly is powerful. And if, for anyone who studies Eckhart Tolle, this is what he teaches, right? Is that the observing suddenly changes everything. Even though you might not be all the way there yet, just starting to observe the pattern weakens all the hold it has on you, which is kind of cool. Yeah, it's very cool. So we just had everybody kind of tune into their story about their dad, right? And so this is kind of an easy way to do some tapping on it, because I said you could tap on it every day, right? And so what I would do is kind of tap on it. I might find the first couple times I tap on it that it's really intense for me, okay? But then I would sort of get into a routine about that I'm tapping on it that every single day. So I'm going to give you sort of that everyday kind of tapping. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense, yeah.
Okay. And so we can start with karate chop point. Okay. Even though I have this story about my dad.
Even though I have this story about my dad.
In his success.
And his success.
His lack of success.
His lack of success.
His money.
His money.
His lack of money.
His lack of money.
His power.
His power.
His powerlessness.
His powerlessness.
And this story totally controls me.
And this story totally controls me.
And my money.
And my money.
My success.
My success.
And my power.
And my power.
It's okay.
It's okay.
I'm observing it.
I am observing it.
And I'm so open to healing this.
And I'm so open to healing this.
Even though my dad's story.
Even though my dad's story.
Runs in me.
Runs in me.
Unconsciously.
Unconsciously.
And totally directs.
And totally directs.
My success and money.
My success and money.
And that kind of stinks.
Yeah, that kind of stinks, yeah.
I totally honor it.
I totally honor it.
It comes from a deep place
It comes from a deep place
of loyalty,
of loyalty,
of love,
of love,
and of rebellion.
and of rebellion.
Just going to honor it.
I'm just going to honor it,
Even though I'm wired
even though I'm wired
to relive my dad's life
to relive my dad's life
and battle it
and battle it
the way he did.
the way he did.
I honor who I am.
I honor who I am,
Okay, and tapping through the points. My dad's story.
my dad's story,
Mixing together with my story.
mixing together with my story,
My determination to be loyal.
my determination to be loyal,
That runs at an unconscious level.
that runs at an unconscious level,
That limits me
that limits me
to my family's paradigm.
to my family's paradigm.
Really hard to break that.
I really have to break that.
There's a deep part of me
There's a deep part of me
that must be loyal to him.
that must be loyal to him.
There's a deep part of me
There is a deep part of me
that really wants to rebel.
that really wants to rebel.
Either way,
Either way,
his pattern is running me.
his pattern is running me.
I totally honor this.
I totally honor this.
The energy of it,
The energy of it,
the stuckness of it,
the stuckness of it,
in all the ways I can't break free.
and all the way I can't break free.
My father's pattern.
My father's pattern.
Okay, and take a nice deep breath. And so we're not kind of going deep into the emotion. It's sort of like a tapping to observe it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Okay.
And so I want you to kind of tune back into his story about, his success and money story.
Okay.
Okay? Any feeling about it?
I'd say I'm feeling a bit sorry for him. That's really what I'm feeling now. Yeah.
And so the second you're aware that you feel compassion or sympathy, you're feeling the loyalty vow right now.
Okay.
Okay? Because for you to surpass what he did would be like you on TV waving a big flag saying, I totally schooled you, Dad. You did it all wrong, and I've done it all right. Okay? To your sort of unconscious mind.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's like the poor guy, and I'm going to stand up and go, loser, look what I did. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
It's not logical from a conscious perspective, but internally, that's what it feels like. Okay? That I'm going to beat him down even more. Even when we know as adults, wow, my father would definitely be proud of me, unconsciously it feels like a conflict.
Yeah, I can see this. Yeah, I can feel this.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's jump in and tap for that, okay?
Okay.
All this sadness for my dad.
All this sadness for my dad.
The poor guy.
The poor guy.
He had so much against him.
He had so much against him.
And he saw the whole world against him.
And he saw the whole world against him.
He was limited.
He was limited.
And it wasn't really his fault.
And it wasn't really his fault. So
It came from his programming.
it came from his programming.
But he paid the price.
But he paid the price.
And he still is.
And he still is.
And I'm still watching.
And I'm still watching.
I feel bad.
I feel bad.
It's so unfair.
It's so unfair.
Why couldn't it be better for him?
Why couldn't it be better for him?
He's a good guy.
He's a good guy.
Couldn't you given him a break, God?
Couldn't you give him a break, God?
Couldn't you give my dad a break, God?
Couldn't you give my dad a break, God?
Couldn't you just give him some joy?
Couldn't you just give him some joy?
Other people have things happen
Other people have things happen
that change everything.
that change everything.
Just like in the movies.
Just like in the movies.
Couldn't you have given him a break?
Couldn't have you given him a break?
It's unfair what happened to him.
It's unfair what happened to him.
And I am loyal to him.
And I am loyal to him.
And I'm holding on to this story.
And I'm holding on to this story.
And making sure
And making sure
it gets seen and heard.
It gets seen and heard.
How unfair it is.
How unfair it is.
How wrong it is.
How wrong it is.
By living it through in my life.
By living it through in my life.
Battling it in my life.
Battling it in my life.
All my sympathy for my father.
All my sympathy for my father.
How can I show him up?
How can I show him up?
That would be cruel.
That would be cruel.
He suffered enough.
He has suffered enough.
How can I prove him wrong?
How can I prove him wrong?
Won't that be even more cruel?
Won't that even be more cruel?
Part of me refuses to do it.
Part of me refuses to do it.
I totally honor this feeling.
I totally honor this feeling.
I totally honor my father.
I totally honor my father.
I totally honor his life.
I totally honor his life.
But this is my life.
But this is my life.
It's actually my life purpose.
It's actually my life purpose.
To surpass.
To surpass.
My parents.
My parents.
In every way.
In every way.
That's hard.
That's hard.
But I honor it.
But I honor it.
As the truth.
As the truth.
Okay, and take a nice deep breath. And so the reason why I say you could do this every day is that you could start down this path again tomorrow and something else would come up.
Yeah.
Okay? I've done this a zillion times.
Really?
Okay? Because that's my discipline, right? Because I'll go out and be disappointed at something in my business and I'll start tapping and my dad will pop into my head and I'll start tapping on the fact that I feel disappointed and realize that it's so similar to his disappointment. Okay. And the next thing you know, I'm like, and another thing, God, you know what I mean? Like there's anger there. But for me, it's often anger universal or at God. Like, why? My father was a good guy. He worked hard. You couldn't have given him a break, right? There's the loyalty, right? So in order to be loyal to him, I kind of have to have the same story that says, see, Dad, you were right all along. I tried too. It wasn't you. It wasn't you, Dad. You were right. The world is against us because I can't succeed either. Do you hear the loyalty in that?
I can hear the loyalty, yeah. And it's kind of resonate with me, especially when, I could feel that the day he was very jealous to me, to my success before, that's when things started really to shift. And that's when I felt that everything dried up in my life, in fact.
Yeah. And especially because sometimes our parents are proud, you know, as adults later on in life, they're like, oh, of course we're proud of you. But sometimes, it's hard. They're like, well, what do you think? You're great now? Right. And when they're even that verbal with it, then you'll pull it all back in. Right. Because remember, we're dealing with the first chakra, which is really you as a child. It's the part of you that's a child and the camaraderie of saying me too. Right, is what keeps us safe in the group.
Yeah, and that's very, very important to feel safe.
Yeah, it's just like if a friend's going through a hard time, you know, the first thing that you want to do is to like, you know, me too. I totally get you. I'm mad too. Right? Yeah, this happened to me too. Because it's sort of the bonding and it's the camaraderie. Right? And so as a child, to our father, who is energetically the male of the family, he can kick you out of the tribe, right? He's the one that's bringing in the sport. I mean, and of course the fact that we love our parents. We can't not love our parents. They're our heroes. So the unconscious drive to see, Dad, I'm just like you, you know, to sort of vindicate him through our own pain. It's I know it sounds insane, but this is what we do inside. Mm-hmm. Okay. And then on the other side of it, it's the anger.
Yeah.
Because that's the rebellion.
Yeah, you're right. It's kind of a rebellion, but not against him, really. It's more against God of the universe.
Yeah. So this is finding gold. Because what you realize is unconsciously, you're kind of in battle with God about this. right? It's a bigger, you're actually in battle. Your success in your money isn't just your success in your money. It's where you have a little axe to grind in a battle. You're trying to prove something, you know what I mean? You're trying to disprove something. You're actually in battle, right? And that's not a good energy to have in your money and your success. Right. So doing this kind of tapping on the loyalty side for my dad of feeling, you know, the loyalty, the sympathy for him, as I did that, it started to trigger in me anger at God. Like, and what were you doing this whole time? You know, here's this good guy working hard, came from a really, you know, our parents' generation, scary, right? They often came from a lot of lack. And my father was the first one in his family to ever be educated, right? But his paradigm was very, very different. So they're up against that. And so I found I had so much anger in there for him that I didn't even know that I had, right? And that's why I was like, oh God, after that, I was like, wow, I'm going to tap on this a lot more because my money and success energy is running mostly based on that paradigm, right? My mother was a stay-home mom, very powerful, charismatic leader, like a den mother charismatic leader, right? My dad was the knowledgeable achiever out there in the world, being a supreme engineer. So the finding that anger, you just found where you're actually in battle in your money and your success because you're trying to prove something, right? Does that make sense?
It does make sense because I did the program, so it's kind of easier for me to understand. But it is still intellectually quite difficult to put the two together. But
right.
Yeah, it starts to make sense. Yeah.
So you want to do a little tapping on sort of anger?
Yeah.
About that, okay. and you know, I'm always like, whenever I do this kind of tapping, I'm always like, I hope I don't get hit by lightning right now, right? So I like to remind people that it's moving the energy. Right. And especially when we find anger at God and we do some tapping and we move that energy, it will always lead to feeling more connected to the divine. It's pretty cool, you know? So that's my promise on the other side. Okay. Okay. So let's just jump in and tap through the points. Okay. The truth is, I'm really angry.
The truth is, I'm really angry.
It's not fair.
It's not fair.
He had to work so hard.
He had to work so hard.
Nobody was helping him.
Nobody was helping him.
And he was a good guy.
And he was a good guy.
He was limited by his programming.
He was limited by his programming.
And I kind of got screwed because of that too.
And I kind of got screwed because of that too.
Because he couldn't really be there for me.
Because he couldn't really be there for me.
The way I wanted.
The way I wanted.
And that's not fair either.
And that's not fair either.
Where was God in all of this?
Where was God in all of this?
Where were you in all of this?
Where were you in all of this?
Couldn't you give him a break?
Couldn't you give him a break?
Can't you give me a break?
Can't you get me a break?
Every time I look at my money and success,
Every time I look at my money and success,
I remember this.
I remember this.
Being limited.
Being limited.
Nobody helping me.
Nobody helping me.
Harder than it has to be.
It's harder than it has to be.
And I'm a good person.
And I'm a good person.
Trying to do good things.
Trying to do good things.
And I see lots of good people.
And I see lots of good people.
Painfully limited.
Painfully limited.
In money and success.
In money and success.
And it's not fair for them either.
And it's not fair for them either.
I'm sick of this treatment.
I'm sick of this treatment.
It's not fair.
It's not fair.
And every time I see my money.
And every time I see my money.
Or get a disappointing result.
Or get a disappointing result.
In my business.
In my business.
I remember this whole story.
I remember this whole story.
Limitation and disempowerment.
Limitation and disempowerment.
In the most unfair way.
In the most unfair way.
It's infuriating.
It's infuriating.
I totally honor this anger in me.
I totally honor this anger in me.
This battle in me.
This battle in me.
This you better support me, God.
This you better support me, God.
I'll prove I can do it.
I prove I can do it.
I'll prove people wrong.
I prove people wrong.
I'm going to fix it.
I'm going to fix it.
This battle I feel,
This battle I feel.
I totally honor it.
I totally honor it.
It's powerful energy.
It's powerful energy.
It's determined energy,
It's determined energy.
but it's not working for me.
But it's not working for me.
It's working in battle.
It's working in battle.
A battle I can never win
A battle I can never win.
because it was already done in the past.
Because it was already done in the past.
My father's already lived his life.
My father already lived his life.
He already lived through this age.
He already lived to this age.
It's up to me now.
It's up to me now.
As I let go of battle,
As I let go of the battle,
I get to create more.
I get to create more.
I get more energy,
I get more energy,
more enthusiasm,
more enthusiasm,
more determination,
more determination,
and more courage
and more courage
for my mission.
for my mission.
I've been in battle
I've been in battle
for myself and my dad,
for myself and my dad,
in my money and success,
in my money and success,
for a long time.
for a long time.
I'm open to letting some of that go.
I'm open to letting some of that go.
Baby steps.
Baby steps.
Okay, take a nice deep breath. Okay, how did that feel?
It feels lighter, far lighter, yeah.
Yeah. It's going to be really interesting to see how many people watch this interview and sort of can really relate to this feeling. Now, for some people who had a father that would be on the other end of the spectrum, maybe a father that was abusive or angry or mean, they're not going to feel the same loyalty feeling to their dad, but they'll definitely feel the unfairness. And they may feel the same anger at God of, why did you let me have a father like this? Okay, who wasn't a role model for me, who wasn't a hero for me, who didn't show me how to at least work hard. Okay, and so whatever your feeling is about your dad in the whole spectrum, the more tapping that you can do to voice it, it really seems to be the more directly it will affect your money and success, which is really cool.
Which is cool. It's completely a new awareness for me, this relationship, and I still have issues not issues, but I still work my head around this,
and what I found, this is why I tapped on it a lot, was I found inside me was like a feeling like, no, I'm not letting this go. And then I'd have to tap on it again. I'm still mad at you, God. My father, because it was like I had to right this wrong somehow. And so I really felt a lot of resistance to letting go of this issue, to not saying no. I'm never, ever going to say that what happened to my dad was okay. I am going to battle that forever. He should have gotten a chance or something like that. And so it took me a long time to really voice that, honor it, let myself feel it. And the shift was really being able to really let it be that is his story, right? Finally, it's not like I feel like, oh, it's right what happened to him, but it doesn't have the same energy laying over me as it's my battle, right? It slowly got to be more out here. That's his story. That's his life. That was his work to work through, right? And this is my time. So how determined am I? And that's what's cool about tapping, is it comes back to the present moment. Okay. And so let's assume that you did a big jump today and letting some of this go. Right. So come back to the present moment with you. Right. So you now can ask yourself, how bad do I want it? What am I willing to do? My dad couldn't go. He was massively in battle with the world, right? Because he was angry. He was massively in battle, and he didn't have the consciousness about that. What am I willing to do to step out of that, right? What battle do I have in me? What willingness to fight do I have in me that can be in my mission instead of creating chaos, right? Something more to battle. Because remember that every time you get a disappointing result in your business, part of you goes into battle. And energy runs through your body. This sucks. I'm trying to be positive. This sucks, but I'm trying to be positive. You know, your body's like running energy. This is just like my dad, but I'm trying to do it. You know, a million things happen in our energy system, right? So how can I take all that energy, process it, and come back into my mission stronger? Okay, so let's do, if you want, we can do a round to kind of reframe this.
Yeah, we can do this. Yeah.
That makes sense?
Time,
okay.
Yeah.
You just tell me when we're running out of time and I'll stop.
Yeah. Let's say we have another 10 minutes, so which is okay.
Okay. Okay, so this would be another kind of a cool daily tapping, right?
Okay.
So let's just start karate chop point. Even though my dad didn't make it.
Even though my dad didn't make it.
Not the way he wanted.
Not the way he wanted.
Not the way I think he should have.
Not the way I think he should have.
I totally honor that.
I totally honor that.
And I'm letting it go.
And I'm letting this go.
It's his story.
It's his story.
His life purpose.
His life purpose.
His soul's journey.
His soul's journey.
I'm coming back to me.
I'm coming back to me.
And there's something that I want.
And there's something that I want.
Even though my dad didn't get the success.
Even though my dad didn't get the success.
A lot of things went well for him.
A lot of things went well for him.
It was his life.
It was his life.
His choices.
His choices.
His disappointments.
His disappointments.
His growth.
His growth.
I'm coming back to me now.
I'm coming back to me now.
And there's things that I want.
And there are things that I want.
That are drawing me.
That are drawing me.
In my life purpose.
In my life purpose.
I am not my dad.
I am not my dad.
I totally honor that.
I totally honor that.
Even though I judge what happened to him.
Even though I judge what happened to him.
As totally wrong and unfair.
As totally wrong and unfair.
Which means I'm smarter than the divine.
Which means I am smarter than the divine.
I totally honor.
I totally honor.
His life.
His life.
I'm in my life now.
I'm in my life now.
This is my chance.
This is my chance.
And there's things that I want.
And there's things that I want.
Things that I'll do differently.
Things that I will do differently.
Because I'm meant to.
Because I'm meant to.
Skills that I have.
Skills that I have.
Awareness, consciousness.
Awareness, consciousness.
That I have.
That I have.
Because I'm supposed to.
Because I'm supposed to.
And I'm using them all.
And I'm using them all.
Okay, and tapping through the points. I'm blessing my dad.
I'm blessing my dad.
And I'm blessing myself.
And I'm blessing myself.
I want things that are totally different from him.
I want things that are totally different from him.
I have a level of consciousness.
I have a level of consciousness.
Totally different from him.
Totally different from him.
I have a life purpose.
I have a life purpose.
That is my own.
That is my own.
That can't be judged by any measure.
That can't be judged by any measure.
Except my life.
Except my life.
I have skills.
I have skills.
And innate talents.
And innate talents.
That are totally different from him.
That are totally different from him.
I am not my dad.
I am not my dad.
Shockingly.
Shockingly.
As I let him go.
As I'm letting him go.
I come back to me.
I come back to me.
There's things that I want.
There are things that I want.
That I am going after.
That I'm going after.
And I'm never going to stop.
And I'm never going to stop.
This is what I want.
This is what I want.
It could change tomorrow.
It can change tomorrow.
And I'll go after that.
And I go after that.
But I'm not stopping.
But I'm not stopping.
I'm creating.
I am creating.
I'm manifesting.
I am manifesting.
I am moving forward.
I am moving forward.
There's nothing I'm doing.
There's nothing I'm doing.
That's a recreation of the past.
That is a recreation of the past.
And there's nothing that happens to me.
And there's nothing that happens to me.
That's anything like.
That's anything like.
What happened to him.
What happened to him.
It's all new.
It's all new.
And I'm ready for all of it.
And I'm ready for all of it.
Okay, take a nice deep breath.
It's a cool one.
Kind of, yeah, it's kind of funny even for me, a woman, right, to literally just say, I am actually not my dad. Like, of course I'm not my dad, but when you say it out loud, it's like, oh my God, right? Why am I thinking that I need to relive this energy?
Yeah.
Right?
But what was funny that when you did tapping, I could feel my first chakra just getting hot. That's the best way of saying this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's a, it's an openness, right? So in this kind of work, we didn't actually go deep into the emotion or pain too much. But what we did was we voiced it, we honored some of it, we observed it. So what we kind of did was we used a little bit more top down, right? We used the seventh chakra insight to kind of come down and open some of that up, as opposed to with tapping when we go deep into a trauma and have a lot of tears and a lot of rage and then open it up that way, right? We're actually using, when we kind of observe and then make statements like I'm choosing and this is my life, it's a little bit different. It's like using the insight, the enlightenment to come down into our first chakra and make some change there, right? Which is kind of a different way of doing it. Thank God we have 7 chakras to work with.
Yeah, you can see it in this way. I'm saying sometimes, there's too many of them. 1 or 2
Right.
would be nice,
Yes. Well, and they don't, we're using different ones at different times, right? There are 7 levels of our consciousness, but, and that's why the 7 levels is the 7 levels, right? It's all 7 chakras. Most of our problems are in the first and second chakra, right? And as you saw in the program, one of the aspects of the program is that most of our issues are in first and second chakra, and then those issues just carry up through the system. Right, they carry all the way up, and then you've got the replay of those issues at third chakra, fourth chakra, fifth chakra, all the way up. And so, because you've come all the way up through the system a couple times, it becomes easier to take an insight, to take an aha moment, and try to work that down through the system.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah, I found
and
this
that's what I call. You know who Tony Robbins is, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I call Tony Robbinsing yourself. Okay. And so sometimes when I do tapping like that, I become my own Tony Robbins, right? So in that last round of tapping, it's like, I'm going for it. I want it. Nothing's going to stop me, right? So I'm sort of building this up from a different place, right? Mm-hmm. Which is like, if you went on stage with Tony Robbins, you'd be like, whammo, right? You're like, for the next 3 weeks, you're like, I'm on fire. Right? Yeah. And so you can use tapping this same way. One of the bonuses in the program you saw is the goal setting work, the chapter on goals from The Secret of Intentional Wealth, which was my first program. And that's why I put it in there, because when you come through and you start getting charged up for your mission, it's any of the work you do around a goal is going to be more powerful.
Mm-hmm. Right? Yeah, and the goals become... What was funny that when I started my journey, I had a goal, I had several goals, and then every time I was writing down, and then I would say, it's too big. So right. I was kind of censoring myself. Whereas now I can really confidently write this down. And I think that this is also a great advancement, in fact, because now the goal becomes clear, becomes a real target. Where before there was kind of moving, here it would be great, but then this is okay, and okay, and okay, and okay. And at some stage it was completely confusing, I guess.
Yeah, and the most important thing that you can do with a goal, right, I think, is when you look at some of sometimes you'll have a short-term goal and a long-term goal, because it can overwhelm us on a daily basis, like, oh, that seems impossible. We'll always get that, it seems impossible hit, is to look at the goal and just throw up your hand. I have no idea how to get there, but I want it. I want it. Right? And so the wanting of it is a powerful vibe. That's totally like a second chakra, right? Like a kid, I want it. They don't have any justification, right? I want it. Have no idea how it's going to happen. I'm willing, right? I'll sometimes put that in there. Hey, I'm willing to do what I'm called to do, right? But I want this. And secondly, I don't know how it's going to happen can be like, I kind of don't care how it happens. I am open to it showing up from any different channel, right? It's hard to do that with a goal when we're really stuck in, but I don't know how to do it, or I might fail, or what if I can't make it happen? And so when I feel all that going on, I will do the Tony Robbins tapping and I'll say like, I'm totally scared. I don't know how to make it happen. It seems impossible, but I want it, right? Like loudly with your fifth chakra. I really do want this. The universe hears that vibe in a big way, right? Because when you say, I want it, it's a way of saying you open to receive when you say that, right? I really want it. And you don't have to know how to make it happen. And you don't have to know how it's going to happen. And you don't have to even care, right? It could happen anyway, but I really do want it. And I'm just letting the universe know, right?
which is great. It's a great way, and we're laughing, but also I think that because I'm so familiar with your programs and other programs also, that I do understand what you're saying, and it's really when we start to verbalize this and we are confident enough to do this, even for ourselves, that right. Things are just changing. I put down some goals and I wrote them down without even knowing how they will happen, but they did happen.
Right.
But because they were clear, and because also I knew that I deserved them. Which is
right.
very, very important. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, my first set of goals were when I was writing the Secret of Intentional Wealth program, I was using it on myself and I was using it on lots of clients. And that's where I came up with all the tapping. When you hear me do tapping, you are hearing my mess, right? Because I don't just make this stuff up. It's stuff I've tapped on, right? Particularly in my newsletters, I send stuff out and I'm like, I hope people, they must start to figure out that this is like what's going on in Margaret's head, right? Because I'm giving what I've gone through, right? So when I first started working Secret of Intentional Wealth program, and I tell like a lot of the stories in that program, and again, that's a big piece of the bonus that you get in the 7 levels. My first goal, the most I'd ever earned in corporate America was $120,000, $25,000, or $30,000 a year in salary in corporate America. And so, when you go out on your own, kind of the first hurdle is to recreate that. But so this was like 4 years ago. I put down $250,000 a year, and that freaked me out. I felt all the resistance. I thought, what if my family sees this number? No one in my family's ever earned $250,000 a year. And at the same time, knowing there's millions of people who, there's tons of people who earn that. Bank VPs at companies, that is a very common salary. But it might as well have been $1 million to me, right? And so if you think about it, and so my brother took one of my classes, my younger brother, and he goes, mine is $30,000 a month. And I was like, what? So I'm like, that's it. I'm changing. So I changed mine to his, right? And then my little daughter at the time who, saw my Post-it note that I had hidden like inside of a cupboard, I'm easily earning $350,000 a year, right? $30,000 a month. She saw it and she's like, what's this, Mommy? And I noticed that an entire wave of embarrassment went through me, and she was like 7. And I was like, wow, I'm embarrassed in front of my daughter who has no programming or content around money. So that was like, I got to tap on this one. And I just said, this is a number this is the amount of money that Mommy wants to earn. And I felt embarrassed and ashamed saying it to a 7-year-old, right? Interesting. I'm like, that's going in the tapping. And then what she did to help Mommy was, now I live on the same street as 2 of my sisters. Okay. I have 7 brothers and sisters, and we are constantly in each other's houses, right? She decided to help Mommy. So she took Post-it notes and she wrote it and put in big red marker and put it all over the house. Everywhere you turned. Okay. Mommy, I have something to show you. Look what I did. The whole house. There's no way anybody who walked into my house wouldn't see it. It was everywhere. Okay, so now what am I going to do? Put that programming on my daughter, say, no, we don't want people to see that. No, people will get. I'm like, I can't do it. I can't. So I am going to have to tap enough to get ready for the fact that my entire family is going to see that that's my goal. And that was a lot of tapping. Okay. Because I was afraid they were going to be disempowered. I was afraid, who do you think she was? Everything got triggered in me because of that number. Right. So when I did enough tapping, it was so cool. My family started to come in. They're like, what's this? And I felt just like, hey, this is what I teach people to do for a living. This is what I'm congruent about. This is my goal. I would love to earn that. I have no idea how. But this is what I teach people to do. And this is what I got to do. And they were like, that's cool. And I was like, oh my God. Right. So, yeah. So goal work is really powerful. It'll trigger you. But I can tell you that it took me, by my third year, I had made the $250,000 mark, right? In what my business was making, and completely put me on track for the next level, which is where I'm at now, for my business to earn probably between 350 and $500,000. Right now, that's not exactly what I pay myself, right? Because I have a whole staff, but it's amazing. Like, it happened. It's amazing. It's truly, truly amazing. Would I have loved to have earned it in 1 year? Yeah. Am I bummed that it took me 3 years? No. Right. So it really is amazing. And sometimes it amazes me that, like, I remember that 1 year it came out to be to the T, like 250,000 to the T, right? Which was the first number I had set. Like, it's just really interesting how numbers can work that way.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So it works. It's amazing. It works, but it takes discipline. And the discipline I mean is the discipline around dealing with the negative emotions that come up and getting back to the I still want it anyway vibe.
Yeah, it's you call it discipline, I call this persistence, but it's really going and doing this over and over and over every evening, and reading your goals and refilling them and so on, even if you have no evidence. At some stage they will come.
Yeah. And that's tricky, right? To not have evidence, and I dealt with that. I had and I like to share the numbers because I think it makes it more real for people. We're so afraid of talking about numbers, but I remember when I for a year I decided not to pay myself. So everything I earned, I went into my business so that I could do my first launch of Secret of Intentional Wealth. And I remember my brother-in-law, he's my CPA, snickering at me. Oh yeah, you're the money coach. Because I wasn't paying myself. I didn't pay myself. It was a decision I made to not pay myself for a year, reinvest everything in my business, and control expenses. I said to everybody in my life, there's not going to be any presents coming your way. No more. I'm not going to be creating big dinners. I'm not going to be doing gifts. I'm not giving anyone anything for Christmas. Okay? And I did it from a powerful place because that was my choice. Right? So... what was I willing to do? That's what I was willing to do, right? Was I living on the street? Did I die? No, but it was hard. And it never once felt like scarcity. It felt like I made a powerful decision and I was doing what I was sort of had pride about it, right? Like, hey, I'm doing the hard thing here. But there were definitely those moments where I would look at my income and be like, this isn't working. It's not happening. Oh my God. What am I, crazy? I've got to go back to corporate America. And then I would threaten God. I'll go back to corporate America if you don't get me some money, right? And I'd get through those moments and come back to, you know what, this is my mission and I'm in it and I'm totally committed, right?
A big lesson from your daughter here, because you have not dealt with all the issues behind this number, and she just taught you this. Yeah.
She really did. That was a big aha moment for me, not just for myself, but again, like how I said, an aha moment can change the course of your life for 20 years. That aha moment I had realizing I was embarrassed in front of her when she had no content, no programming about money, made me realize the importance of tapping for money specifically, right? And so it really set me on a course that directed me, to where I am now. I mean, that was it. She gave it. That was the gift. People say, well, how did you figure out to focus on money? It's like, it was an aha moment of how much baggage I had about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
lots of babes, as they say.
And I guess we all have this kind of aha moments, especially when we're doing our line of business. It's that there's things that are completely unrelated, and then suddenly we have to learn something. We have to go over something because else we are not congruent with what we're telling people. And then that's the gift. That's what we have to do. And usually it's well buried, you know. And
yeah, and I think that the big thing that when in that moment I knew I had to do that work for myself, I had no idea that that was one of the most leveraged things I could ever do. I thought I was doing it for maybe two reasons, you know, for me, for my current clients, but I didn't know that the work that I did there would literally change the course of my life, my career, be the reason that so many people resonate with me, the reason that they like my work, that certain people say, you know, when you do tapping, I like your technique. That work that I did is still paying me back today, you know, and things like that still happen, you know, where I think back now and I go, I thought well, this is a good idea. I guess I'll do it. I had no idea back then that that was going to be something that would continue to blossom and pay me back 1,000 times over. And that's what you don't know right now because you can't see it. It's off your radar. Right? It's cool. It's really cool. And so that takes faith. I've lost my video of you, so just letting you know.
Okay, I can see you.
You're anyway, frozen. So
we are at the end of the hour. So great. So thank you very much, Margaret, for your time.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And I hope we gave people who are working the program some more insight. And if you haven't seen the program, it's the 7 Levels of Wealth Manifestation. I'm going to be launching it again November 28th. So on November 28th, if they visit www.7levelsofwealthmanifestation.com, you'll actually be able to see all the amazing free content videos again.
That's great, yeah. Because they were amazing, and but the program itself is going even deeper, which is just mind-blowing.
Yeah, and actually, they might, if you have a link for that, they'd want to use the link that you put up, because that I'm not sure how that link, the basic link, will work. So they'll probably want to use the link that you've got there.
Okay, yeah, I will do this. Yeah. Okay, so thank you very much, and I wish you a great day, and thank you again.
You're welcome. It's been a blast. Bye.